Good morning, everybody, and we want to thank Alacero for the invitation and the possibility of being here with you coordinating this panel. I believe that yesterday and the whole morning today, you have been working and looking into the different trends and things or changes we are going through. There is a world that's getting organized. Geopolitics becomes important in the trade arena. These trends are having impact in our region. Our region has gained protagonism these days, partly because of the changes, technological changes, the reorganization of investments, the process we are going through in industrial currents in China regarding steel, and all these challenges the rest of the value chains in those countries like, for example, Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina, where the industrial structure is a structure which is quite consolidated. So in these new trends, there is an important challenge that we need to face, and clearly the instruments provided to us by international organizations are not enough in order to act here. So we are challenged to think about new things related to technology, sustainability, things having to do with how we strengthen our value chain processes and how we work in more competitive economies with intelligence, of course. During the next decades, we are going to be undergoing a conflict between the two main powers that are going to condition the investment flow and the trade flow. The region of Latin America is a region, if you wish, very critical at this moment because it needs to coexist on the one hand with an agenda from the point of view of democratic values and Republican values, where we see it more aligned to the Western countries, but then part of our demands and part of the possibility of production for the next years is totally related to the Asian countries, especially China. In this balance that the countries have to achieve, the companies need to play a role. So Vagner and Gustavo, the first question is if you believe in general how the groups or the companies are interacting, and how are they seeing this geopolitics impact in your business structures and in your companies? Good morning. In the first place, thank you very much for the invitation. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here today representing Vale in the Alacero Summit. I'm going to speak in Portuguese, so please use the translation device if necessary. Remember that Portuguese and Spanish are very, very similar and quite equally dangerous. But I'm quite limited in order to speak in Spanish, so I will do it in Portuguese. We are producers and providers of iron ore to the world, to all the regions of the world. What we observed throughout the last years is an important change in the import of iron ore. For 33 years and until 20 years ago, the sales of ours amounted 2/3 towards the Atlantic market, Europe and the Americas, and 1/3 to Asia. But the increase in production in steel in China in the year 2003 to this date totally changed this situation. And today, more than 2/3 of our sales go to Asia. The company Vale had to undergo or had to make investments and developments of a supply chain that was quite competitive in order to provide Asia with ships. The Vale ships are the biggest or largest in the world. But we invest as iron ore providers. We invest to provide the products that the steel industry needs in Brazil, in Argentina, in South America, that amount to 12% in our sales and in all the markets abroad. Therefore, today, all the iron ore producers depend on the Chinese markets, and we have strategies to diversify in the future, but I would rather leave it to later talk about this. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate at this important Alacero Summit. In the car company business, we have a lot of global challenges related to geopolitical aspects. One of them is related to power, electric power, and electrification. So we have a progressive electrification of vehicles with the search of improving environmental conditions and sustainability of the car industry. There are different policies based on each country, on each region, and we prioritize these electricity matrices of the different countries in order to be able to see how to implement an industrial policy. And in Toyota, we need them to understand the reality of each region, and we talked about a multi-technological development with different technologies of motorization. The car industry is seeing the modifications because during the last times, the growth of the Chinese automotive industry has changed the game of production. That is to say, it has changed the way in which it produces. Chinese brands amount now to 20% of the global demand, and it is on the increase, and we expect 30% in the years to come. Toyota is the highest selling company and producer in China. So in China, this obliges us to work. We have plants in Brazil and in Argentina. We want to improve our competitiveness based on the challenges mentioned. Yes, very interesting, especially in the car sector, how this impact is seen, and somewhat how we've achieved positioning ourselves as stronger. In this area, we talked about the instruments that may curb, or not curb, but has to do with environmental sustainability, the decarbonization processes of zero emissions that are tied to innovation processes. As providers of iron ore, how are you working towards innovation and sustainability in order to generate a better iron ore with a lower impact? I asked permission to show some slides. I don't know if we can see the slides. Can you see them? As to the production of steel around the world, we believe that the steel production around the world will increase by 1.9 million tons this year until we reach 2.5 million tons in the year 2050. Nevertheless, with different significant changes. In the first place, we have the forecast of Chinese iron ore production to decelerate. and the world growth will take place in some other latitudes, in India, Southeast Asia, etc. But the most important aspect, the most important trend that we see is the zero emission. So the steel industry is a big CO2 emitter, and it is focused on developing products to help us so that the steel industry can decarbonize. What would this be like? Today, most of our product portfolio are products that are for blast furnaces that respond by 2/3 of the present production of steel. This should be reduced with the initial decarbonization and throughout the next 2 decades. But blast furnace production will be strong, nevertheless. We believe that an alternative for the steel industry should be the production of steel by direct reduction and steel production for blast furnace to electrical arc. So this is reduced to 1 ton every 2 tons of steel produced. As providers of iron ore, we prepare ourselves to invest in projects for the production of concentrates, pellets fit of high quality to increase our production. Production of agglomerates, balls and briquettes, high quality, that may be for blast furnaces, but with better quality and direct reduction. Today, we are producing more or less 40 million balls that we are going to increase in production to 90 million until the year 2030 and 120 million ton. Direct reduction to offer the national industry different alternatives for a production route of steel with less CO2 production.
So, I mean, what's the balance regarding China, US? Well, we don't see the Chinese markets as the most interested in decarbonization. So the markets that we see as pioneers in zero emissions in steel making are Europe, Korea, and Japan. But we, as suppliers, we work to offer these product solutions to any sector willing to use them. Briquettes. Briquettes are a new agglomerate product. This new product has been developed and patented by Vale. It's like a pallet, but with better metallization and CO2 emissions during production are below the pellet, because this production takes place at 250 degrees centigrade, while the pellets reach around 1,000 degrees. So the product involves lower emission levels and high quality to speed up the transitions towards zero emissions. We in Latin America, we have everything to be high-quality steel producers with fewer CO2 emissions. We have huge iron ore reserves in Brazil, and as well as big reserves of gas, both in Brazil and in Argentina. Argentina even has direct reduction plans. So I believe in South America's potential and also the potential of Mexico and Latin America in general to produce low-emission steel, which is the trend of the future, I would say. So how can we make more pipes? For instance, you just said that all of this impact in zero emission, decarbonization, the transition, new technologies. I mean, the restrictions imposed by Europe after 2035, no more combustion engines. So that results in an inflow of Chinese vehicles. Has that impacted Toyota's strategy, which seemed to embrace more hydrogen than electricity? So what are you doing? What are you doing regarding the zero emission goal? And this has impacted your strategy? Well, no, because since the very beginning, Toyota has had a strategy based on what we call multi-strategy. That is different options suited to each region or each country. So customized, and this takes into account the practical utilization of these technologies. So when we speak about multi-technologies, I mean, in concrete terms, we have introduced hybrid technologies. I mean, we did this many years ago in Argentina and around the world, and then we developed complementary technologies, electricity, plug-in technologies, hydrogen, and we are still developing new technologies. Today, the world has not selected a single solution for this zero-emission goal. In recent years, the electric vehicle seemed to be the best solution, but today around the world we see that given the advance of electricity, its practicality from the point of view of usability is not the same. So that will impact the technology that will be adopted. So this multi-technology approach we adopted allows us to offer each market different products based on the actual demand. And why I'm speaking about this real demand, and this has to do with the structure, the energy mix in each country, because the vehicle should be a positive contribution to the environment. Yeah, how practical it is to use the vehicle, the cost of the vehicle, and how viable it is for governments to subsidize these vehicles, which are more expensive than conventional vehicles. This multi-technology approach has not changed our course, our direction towards the future. And in our opinion, it has ratified that this multi-technology is the right decision. And just please don't forget that you can send questions using the QR code. I hope I can know how to handle my iPad for that. But taking, advantage of this dialogue, I want to ask you about the impact of these multi-technologies. This probably raises concerns among traditional vendors. What's the impact on the chain? I mean, you, based on your own culture, the Japanese culture, Japanese business people, you have been very careful of your value chain. The question is this: how are you getting ready to embrace the future? And what about your vendors? How are you going to embrace these technological changes? Well, in Toyota, in Brazil and in Argentina, we have over 4,500 vendors, 300 provide spare parts. They are good protagonists in our value chain. And we have always adopted a long-term vision because we focus more on processes than on contracts. We work together to devise how to implement sustainable long-term strategies. And this results in our commercial relationship. These challenges that have to do with electrification, changes in mobility around the world, we share all of this with our vendors as strategic partners, and we try to pinpoint the opportunities offered to all vendors. I mean, we don't see this as a problem for vendors because maybe some of them work on conventional parts. We want to expand the role of the value chain based on all of these opportunities. Regarding electrification and its related technologies, electronics are more and more present in vehicles. Brazil and in Argentina, we have to make progress. We have to go forward because the car sector needs, of course, regional and local content, more and more so. So we have to expand our vendor network, and this allows us to export to more countries. Toyota in the region is an exporting company who exports to 23 countries in Latin America. And thinking of this policy, manufacturing within the continent where you operate, yes, because we want to maintain and expand this exporting attribute, we need local vendors. And of course, we have to work with the vendors providing the components, the parts. And Vale, how do you work with your value chain? How do you expand it? How do you face these challenges? This technological innovation process that you have mentioned. We have faced some challenges caused by the increase in cost. We have invested in new projects. The big challenge ahead regarding we are a company that keeps investing to increase our production and offer goods and products to the steel sector, and we want to do it competitively. One of the biggest challenges we have recently faced is the increase in production costs. High investments for our projects. One of our challenges is to optimize investments on new projects. And right now, we have 3 big projects on our hands to increase production. One in Minas Gerais, starting next year. Another project which started this year, and the expansion of another project in Carajá. So these 3 projects that will increase our production by 50 million tons. The big challenge is investments for new projects. Optimizing capex for new projects. That would be our big goal and challenge, and optimizing our value chain. I think that we have managed to build a good value chain for the entire world, with big deliveries, big shipments, sales in Asia. And for our competitiveness, we will have to invest in high-quality goods because they can command higher prices and higher profits. Low-quality products have been competitive so far, but in the future they will become cheaper because they will be more highly discounted. So in order for us to increase competitiveness, apart from optimizing capital expenses for our new projects, we will have to invest in a portfolio of high-quality products. And these goods will be more competitive and will command higher prices and will be more profitable. And, as I have shown in the graph, that will reduce the share of low-quality products in our portfolio. This is our main challenge if we think of our competitiveness in the future. So we have seen and we have heard different people and panelists speak about competitiveness as one of the big challenges vis-a-vis is the steel market and Chinese exports. So there is a need to enhance productivity locally. Innovations, of course, affect your production and competitiveness. How can you improve your competitiveness in Brazil? What should you improve regarding production? On what areas should you focus on the government? So, in order to improve our productivity, we have to increase production. We have to increase our capacity. Today, we produce 320, 330 tons. Our plan is to increase by 2026 and reach 340, 360 tons, and to exceed 360 later. So, mainly to increase production. That's our goal. In the north, in the area of Carajá, that's low-cost production, and this is key to enhance our productivity. And also in different production plants, Minas Gerais, everywhere, they are all, working at full steam. Getting the licenses, the permits, which are necessary to increase production in our new projects. These are our main challenges. As well as, what I've said before, investing in a portfolio of higher quality goods, because there will be more money there, more profits, and also optimizing our capital expenses. These are the investments required to expand new projects. So maybe that the macroeconomy is becoming more stable, allowing for more plans to be adopted. What do you think? Both for the domestic market, car making, and the changes you have mentioned, Of course, this will lead to a more competitive market. Welcome, fantastic, because in the coming years, we will have a booming car sector, more demand. Argentina will be more open to the world, and this will force us to work on competitiveness. Exporting, well, we have to be competitive in order to export. And also we have to focus on the efficiencies of our company. I say our company because I include our value chain, our vendors. And this are new phase or the new stage faced by Argentina. We need structural reforms. Costs, operational costs, not only taxes. People speak about taxes. This is true reality. Today we export a vehicle. 17% is taxes. And of course, this causes an imbalance. And this affects infrastructure, freight costs. If we compare the cost to Brazil, here we are 40% higher. So we need many reforms to be in line with the changes in Argentina, so we have an up-to-date, modern, local and domestic market with more variety, and we have to be able to export them, and we want to optimize export. This is the foundation of Argentina's industry. Argentina is the fourth global producer of pickup vehicles. That's what I said before. We have to improve competitiveness. So our time is running up. I'm afraid we have had a good summary of the ecosystem, iron ore, production, final goods, sustainability, innovation, and investment in order to attain scalability, and also a dialogue between the private and the public sector. So we have an agenda which allows us to improve the systemic agenda with good tools and fair competition. We will be able to face the big ghost, China. Thank you very much. Thank you.